안녕하십니까. SDF2018 새로운 상식, 개인이 바꾸는 세상의 두 번째 챕터 용기를 낸 사람들 진행을 맡은 SBS 최혜림입니다. 지금부터 사회 변혁의 중심에서 용기를 낸 이들을 차례로 만나볼 텐데요. 어쩌면 자신의 인생이 송두리째 바뀔지 모를 상황에서 변화를 위해 침묵을 깬 이들의 진정성을 믿고 공감해 주시기를 정중하게 부탁드립니다. 오늘의 첫 번째 연사는 지난해 할리우드 거물 제작자에 의한 성폭력을 폭로하며 거대한 미투의 물결을 일으킨 주인공입니다. 그 당당한 외침이 오늘 SBS D 포럼 현장에서 이어집니다. 먼저 화면으로 만나보시죠.
Let's push at boundaries. Let's fight to be ourselves. Let's fight to be who we were born to be.
We are here. We will not go away. My name is Rose McGowan, and I am brave, and I am you.
네, 여러분 배우 로즈 맥고완입니다. SBS D 포럼 무대에 오르기 위해서 처음으로 한국을 찾았는데요. 오늘의 만남을 무척 기대하고 있다고 사전에 전해왔습니다. 힘찬 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Hello, my name is Rose McGowan, and I'm here because I want to talk to you today about how to change systems of thought and action. Why do we fight for change? Change is hard, change is scary, but change is essential if we are to heal society's psyche. Remember when you were small and your legs hurt? That was your body growing and changing. It hurt, but we got taller, didn't we? I think that metaphor works really well to illustrate what is going on in a post-Me Too world. For me to become the person I am today, I had to walk through a lot of fires that required change to survive them. First, I grew up in a commune in Italy that believed in its own utopia. I saw at a young age that what the commune members were preaching weren't matching their actions. So I refused to believe them. I refused to join them, but I watched them. I studied their actions and their words. And I came to the conclusion that they only wanted me to say I believed in their beliefs so they could stay comfortable in their illusion. For this, I was punished. For this, I was made an example of. Later, after being assaulted and trying to report it in Hollywood, the very same thing was done to me. I was made an example of. I was harassed. I was blacklisted. I was a cautionary tale. This is how I realized Hollywood operated just like the cult that I grew up in, that what they preached, they did not generally do. For me, that's how I realized I was part of a cult yet again. Only this cult, the Hollywood cult, didn't stay local behind walls. Its damage is not limited. Hollywood and its legacy has a global reach, not just into the communities, but into the minds of over 2/3 of the human population. Hollywood has always had a dark and criminal element. It's just really good at hiding it with its very own propaganda. These are the people behind the messaging system for all of the minds in the world, or at least for all of the minds who have been to the movies or watched TV. Now, I know that sounds dramatic, and with good reason, it is dramatic. Just think about how we humans have been portrayed historically by Hollywood. If we take the film Gone with the Wind as an example, we can break down the myths that Hollywood has sold us, and it has sold that myth to the world. Think of how people of color have been portrayed. Gone with the Wind and its happy, grateful slaves. How women have been portrayed. Again, we can use Gone with the Wind. You have two choices as a female in film: the man-hungry money schemer who has sex to get her way, the brunette vixen, Scarlett O'Hara, And Miss Melanie, the sweet blonde who is all that is kind and good and not threatening. Think of how men have been portrayed. Like hero Rhett Butler, he grabs Scarlett against her will. How racism was portrayed. The grand American white male Southern gentleman dying for their romantic ideals. The city people from the North and those who believe slavery unjust are portrayed as new and not trustworthy. You may think, but it's just a movie. I know the difference. The truth is, most film is not just a story. It's a snapshot into a lifestyle. And the more we buy into the snapshot by endorsing it with our viewership and money, the more we validate what is on that screen. When humans first discovered fire, they found it hypnotic. Many cultures embraced it as life, safety, and spirituality. Staring into the flickering flames is proven scientifically to calm our minds and spark a numbing effect. Televisions and movie screens operate in the same way. The images flash before us, shifting and blinking at a similar numbing rate. We are lulled, absorbing the story before us. We process the feedback of the hypnosis we just experienced with the people in the world around us, and then we emulate the popular shared thoughts. We buy products, t-shirts, backpacks, hats with that show's logo on it. We start using phrases invented on that show. And most frighteningly of all, we start reenacting the behaviors we've seen from favorite characters. The crossing of verbal boundaries, the glorifying of physical violence, and discriminatory treatment of others around us. In this way, Hollywood has created the Matrix, and most of us are just living in it. But we don't have to. I'm going to ask you to shut your eyes and think about the images you've seen of women on screen. Women as conquests to be won, to do the laundry, to be owned, to be either the bad brunette girl or the good blonde girl. Now let's think of men on the screen, the images we get sold of them. Think of James Bond, sex, hate, explosions, stereotypes. The Hollywood I grew up in and worked as an actress had a big hand in searing these images into our minds. When I had my realization that I was in another, more dangerous cult, I decided to set about challenging its system by exposing it as a beautiful lie. And it is beautiful. Think of all the beautiful images Hollywood has given us through the years, all of the emotions that we've felt, scared, happy, sad, mad, daring, active. At times, Hollywood has even made us think positively. It's just that the behind the scenes was often so rotten. It seeped through to you and to me. We were never taught to look at Hollywood with a critical eye, but when we do, we see all sorts of problems and see where they could be better. They are affecting our mental health and our political wellness. If people producing soy have more social responsibility than a Hollywood producer of things that go into our heads, that's something I find deeply troubling. And that is why I set about making things change. I knew it would be an uphill battle to get people to see the entertainment world with a new, more critical lens. I started publicly going up against Hollywood 4 years ago. I looked around for support, but then I realized very quickly at the beginning I was about to do this alone. It was really scary. But what was scarier was the idea of continuing to live in a world in which abuse could thrive as we hid in the shadows of torment. On Twitter, on Facebook, in open letters to the movie industry, I started to rock the boat as hard as I could. Once some people were paying attention, I then used grooming tactics on the media, the same as predators had used in the past. I learned from their playbook and I applied their own strategy against them. I had to get the media to pay attention. Momentum was gained, and then suddenly paused because of one problem I knew was going to factor in at some point. The idea that when a woman becomes unpleasant, that they are being whiny, tyrannical nags. Society had been taught to ignore the voices of women who educate in a passionate manner. So once again, I found myself in a position of change, as in I needed to change tactics. So I decided to reach beyond the media, directly to the accounts of the people who supported me. That's right, I took my social media and I made it my horse and my messenger. Twitter was my vehicle for a direct hotline to the masses, Instagram my snapshot into truth, Facebook my portrait of clarity, And it worked because suddenly I was joining forces with the world. This opened me up for a lot of hate. But you see, for the past 20 years, many in the media have been paid off to disparage me, to paint me as crazy. I had to live with society's twisted interpretation of what I was. I endured these 20 years of being slandered by living a big private life, doing volunteer work, and keeping my truth. The way I stayed sane was the same way I did when I was little. I knew I was telling the truth about cult life, and no one could take that from me. But I had to get them to listen, because this is not about men versus women. This is about justice and equality. This is about showing what power and balance does, and how it hurts, and how it is so prevalent and affects so many. And not just in Hollywood, but in all industries. I use Hollywood as an example because I know it so well. I was the pixel beamed up into space and beamed back down. I lived in Hollywood by myself since I was 15 years old. I know it all too well. After pushing at Hollywood and commenting on everything from Jennifer Lawrence being strangled by a stone-faced man in an X-Men poster that seemed to endorse violence against women with its tagline, "Only the strong survive," they took the campaign down after criticism, to talking about damage done by an Adam Sandler casting notice that told me to wear a push-up bra to our meeting. The media started listening. 3 of the last 4 years I spent writing my book, Brave. It's about how we can unwire thought by simply readjusting the lenses in our collective glasses, and how we become brave when we do so. How we can look harder at what we consume, what we can demand from those who make and sell mind food. We can demand that they clean their own houses before putting their mental furniture into ours. While writing Brave, I was harassed and targeted behind the scenes to stop its publication. When I refused to, the same force tried to go to great lengths to paint me as imbalanced so people wouldn't listen to me. I felt incredibly alone once again. I didn't know how I could overcome these overwhelming forces, but thankfully people saw through their charades. You saw through them. Because of that, when Brave hit the shelves and minds of many around the world, it became a bestseller. I would be lying if I said its success was due to some mental genius within me. Its success came because people like you saw through the bully tactics and stood with me despite. You picked up copies and worked as a community to share my words. You created change with every page, and you stood against Hollywood and the corrupt forces of the world that would try to silence a woman sharing their truth. Who knew that just reading a book could be a form of activism? And then it was time to call on journalists to tell the big story, the story that had for years been covered up by both the media and Hollywood and even Washington, D.C. I came into contact with reporters from the New York Times and NBC News. I decided to get them in a race for the story because I knew one of the news outlets would fall. And I was right. NBC fell victim to the behind-the-scenes bullying and influence. Luckily, a reporter named Ronan Farrow took the story to The New Yorker, and the rest is Pulitzer Prize-winning history. Shortly after the New York Times and New Yorker article came out, a hashtag started by an activist, Tarana Burke, Me Too, went viral. Suddenly, so many who had been hurt had a way to tell their story without even having to tell their story. I may be a face affiliated with Me Too and a person who is seen as prominent, but the truth is that anyone who has ever come forward and shared their truth utilizing that hashtag is a prominent and powerful equal activist to myself. Me Too was never an end destination. It's a starting point, a place to begin to get control of the life that you are living right now. It's a marker of a moment when you choose truth over silence. This means that now we must move beyond Me Too to the second stage. For me, I did this by starting my movement, #RoseArmy, which is geared towards connecting individuals who share my values of unapologetic confrontation, justice, and compassion for a better future. For you, it may be taking that strength you found in Me Too and reapplying it to something holding you back in your path. Whatever stands in your way, your voice is powerful enough to break it, to repair it, to be it. I know this. The time to get the existence you deserve starts now. Don't waste another second. We don't know how many more we have. You see, in order to change systems of power, our home life, we don't have to change our home life, our social life, or our work life. All we have to do is change our minds. By looking at things differently, we are paving a way for new thought and new actions, a brighter today, a better tomorrow. It's been said that we are only as sick as our secrets, and I think this is a really big truth. If we start lifting up and encouraging those who speak out injustice in all forms, if these people are helped and loved and heard, the world will change. How do I know it? Because the world has changed. I hear it from people on the streets every day. It's an amazing thing to witness history being made and to know I played a part in it. You can be and are a part of it too. Just as powerful, just as earth-shaking. My name is Rose McGowan, and I am just a person who believes that you are the key to changing the world. Thank you. And now, I would like to bring onto the stage a very brave me in Korean Me Too movement and prominent poet, Miss Choi Young-mi.